John Cena's heel work seems disingenuous and just comes off as bad acting. For example, his indifferent facial expressions, smirks, disappointed face are so funny to me because I know he's putting on an act. The whole "I'm going to give you nothing and we don't have a functional relationship" promo is getting repetitive and stale every week. Ooh. And let me know your wrestling hot takes down in the comments below. It can be current day or it can be in history, and you'll have a chance of being in the next episode. I really hate to go ahead and say this, but I think the John Cena heel turn may have been a bad idea. Like, he's saying all these things where quite easily if someone in the crowd was mic'd up, we'd be like, no, that's not true. What are you talking about? And honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I want to put the phone down, I want to go up to John, give him a hug and say, John, let's forget this ever happened. Come on, buddy. For me, it's not even as if there aren't entertaining moments every now and again with this heel turn. Like, I think some aspects of the character are pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see what they do with Randy Orton at Backlash and his future opponents, but at the same time, I'm looking at moments like WrestleMania and looking at him making his final WrestleMania entrance. It's all depressing, it's dark, I get it, it's the character, but still. You think about John Cena WrestleMania entrances and you think the last one should have almost been a big tribute to everything he's done, you know? When you grow up being a John Cena kid, his final WrestleMania is just him, like number 17, he's just like, yeah, I won the title, okay. And so part of me wants to say John Cena's heel turn has been a failure, but it is way too early for me to say that, so I'm not going to jump to a conclusion yet. I guess my feedback would be just mix it up a little bit. Not everything has to be toxic, dysfunctional relationship. Let's dive into some other layers here. Why else do you hate me now, John? Let's dive into it. But maybe there's an opponent down the line like CM Punk that can bring another side of heel Cena out, and then it's going to turn into a generational run again. Apollo Crews is the GOAT at keeping his job and not getting released, lol. You know what, he is. And I am not an Apollo Crews hater. I think the heel work he did during the pandemic and beyond was some of his strongest stuff, and I really wish they would have continued it more. It felt like after years and years of them trying, they had finally gotten something out of Apollo Crews that can add to his incredible in-ring work, and we were finally gonna go somewhere, and then now I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw that man. TKO is killing WWE and UFC with rising prices and declining product. Ooh. On the UFC front, I feel like things are still pretty enjoyable, and I don't really think that the WWE product is super declining. It's definitely not at the peak it was, maybe, you know, around WrestleMania 40 or even WrestleMania 39. But like I said recently, I definitely don't think the product is declining to a super degree where we have to worry and panic, although the rising prices are a problem, and I do know that needs to change. I believe that Javon Evans will become the youngest NXT champion of all time. Some of the work he's been doing at his age is just amazing, and he will get a title sooner rather than later. I 100% agree. I know he didn't win the Battle Royal, and to be honest, I kind of wanted him or Ethan Page to win. I like Miles Bourne, but I did think they were going to go with Javon Evans, so it's crazy that they didn't. But the sky is the limit for that man, Javon Evans. I mean, seriously, his in-ring work, his character work, he only gets better by the week. I love Javon Evans. It wouldn't be the worst thing if Miles Bourne won the NXT title. On one hand, I really like Miles Bourne. I really like his story. I think his story is so inspirational, and at his point in his career, he is really doing well right now. I really like Miles Bourne, and it goes without saying, but the comparison to Randy Orton is getting more and more ridiculous. Like this week on NXT, I'm looking at this man in that backstage segment, down to the abs, the way his body is built, the tattoos, the wrist tape, the trim, the facial shape, the way his eyes kind of have like the shadow over the... He is Randy Orton. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is I wouldn't mind seeing Miles Bourne with that NXT title, and I think it would be cool to see him have that moment. But do we need to see a smaller guy beat Obafemi again within the space of a year? Not really. DDJ versus whoever it takes to get a Total Divas reboot. I don't think I need to explain anything here. Yeah, you don't. John Cena versus Samoa Joe would feed families. The promos alone would be legendary. Oh, you're right, and I'm gutted now that we never got a full-fledged John Cena Samoa Joe feud in like 2018. I think if it was Triple H in charge a couple years earlier, Samoa Joe would have beaten Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. I'll stand on that. And I'll go one further to say that the John Cena Samoa Joe feud would have happened in 2017 or 2018, and it would have been for the WWE Championship. But I guess all it's gonna be now is a big what if.
And now a word from our sponsor.
This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot and the BS14 ergonomic office chair. One of my favorite things about the BS14 chair is that it promotes a healthy sitting posture by adapting to your body's natural movements and offering biomechanical support thanks to the ergonomic design, reducing discomfort in the lower back, neck, and upper limbs. Not to mention, this chair has an adjustable backrest along with the forward seat tilt and lumbar lumbar support, so you can shift positions to suit various tasks while minimizing pressure on the lumbar spine and keeping you upright for the best posture. The BS14's versatile headrest provides tailored support for the neck and shoulder muscles, while the multifunctional armrests ensure optimal arm support, relieving tension in the upper back and further relief in the neck. The seat height can be adjusted to maintain a 90-degree knee angle for improved lower back support and blood circulation, which really helps me during those long editing sessions. FlexiSpot has an ongoing May Brand Day sale where you can get up to 50% off this very BS14 on May 12th. Thank you once again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. I genuinely don't see the point in bringing back Rusev and Malachi Black. Unless they bring back Rusev Day, then maybe I see the vision, but Black is a good wrestler and that's where it ends in my opinion. His wife Zelina is a more interesting character after one hometown pay-per-view main event in Puerto Rico. Ooh, I kind of agree. But I've kind of come to the realization that stars like Rusev, Malachi Black, and even Andrade are only ever going to be at this level, and it's heartbreaking. I don't really care so much about Andrade. I feel like the fire for me being a fan of his is kind of like, you know, like whatever. But when it comes to Alistair and how good he was in NXT and how strong of a character he was and how good those matches were, and then you look at Rusev and how good he was as Miro over the last couple of years. But ever since they returned to WWE, and I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but it feels like both Rusev and Alistair Black have come back to WWE merely to continue what they were doing beforehand, which I think is a huge disappointment, Triple H. And maybe they're going to continue to cook with both of these men, but right now it seems like instead of bringing them back as the characters they had spent the last couple of years establishing, you've instead decided to just pick up where they left off as these subpar characters, and that is a shame. WrestleMania 26 needs more recognition. Oh my god, I agree. When I was a kid, I had that one on DVD. It was one I would go to sleep watching damn near every night for a while. And I understand that era of WWE 2010 gets a lot of hate. The PG era gets a lot of hate, but I really love WrestleMania 26. I love the Royal Rumble from that year. I've spoke about that before too. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels speaks for itself. I think John Cena versus Batista is a very strong and somewhat underrated rivalry. It is certainly an underrated WrestleMania that deserves more recognition, and I will continue to fight for you, WrestleMania 26. I've commented on it before, but Bryan Danielson versus Gunther, Pete Dunne, Dragunov, and or Tyler Bate would have cooked something different. Shout out DDJ. Shout out to you. Like, can you imagine the way Bryan Danielson's chest would have looked after a Gunther match? And also, when it comes to Pete Dunne, Dragunov, Tyler Bate, I want to see them all wrestling all the time. I love every single person you mentioned. My dream match, 3MB versus 3 Count. We were robbed. Honestly, he's cooking here. Herc Angle versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. I am on my knees. Please, wrestling gods, give me a way outside of 2K on how I could see that, please. Hangman Adam Page is one of the best wrestlers out there. Not because of the moves, but the grit. And I know I've said it before, but once again, I love Hangman Adam Page. I am so excited to see him against Will Ospreay. I think it's going to be damn near 6 stars of a match. Like, they are 2 of the best in the world. I think this whole redemption arc that Hangman Adam Page has been on, and even that promo this past week on Dynamite between him and Will Ospreay, was some super strong stuff. Between his incredible character work, his promo work, his in-ring work, it's all been superb. Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins was not that bad. Do people think that match is bad? I had no idea that people were even hating on the Battleground match back in 2016, but I personally really enjoyed it. R-Truth has been lying about John Cena being his childhood hero for clout. How dare you? Jacob Fatu is what Samoa Joe should have been on the main roster. Ooh, okay. I kind of see the vision. I can kind of see the dish you're cooking there. Ilya Dragunov versus Will Ospreay would be the best match in the century. I am on my knees. Please let it happen someday, please. But at the same time, Ilya versus Will, that's the kind of match that could open a WrestleMania and set the entire tone for the night. Oh, how I want to see that. Yo, 2K ain't enough, bro. I need to be front row for that. I need to feel the sweat on my face. Firstly, I hope everything has been going great for you, Deonte. Thank you. Secondly, my take is Ricochet has truly grown into his own as a predominant heel player for AEW. Twitter rage-based side quests aside, I truly agree with you. And now it is clearer than ever to me that at the end of his WWE career, he just wasn't trying. He was sick and tired and he wanted to leave. Because I will be the first to go ahead and admit, I thought Ricochet fell off a little bit. I did. I will admit that. I thought everything he did on main roster realistically was quite disappointing, and even even by the end I thought his character was cringe and his matches weren't really wowing me anymore, especially in comparison to his superb NXT success. Everything he's been doing in AEW though has been terrific, and if you haven't watched Collision yet, he's about to have a match against Zach Gowen of all people next week, and I just started watching Collision again with this episode, so imagine my shock when I'm like, oh. If you put Carmelo Hayes back into the indies, he'd be a top star. WWE are not utilizing the already made star. Oh, I'm gonna have to disagree. I definitely think to a certain extent you're right when it comes to how Carmelo has been treated since he came to Smackdown, but right now it seems like they're doing a little bit of resurgence for him. He's finally starting to get wins, he's finally starting to do stuff. It definitely feels like Triple H is cooking something. Prime AJ Styles, TNA and New Japan versus Prime HBK. Arguably in his second run for the WWE Championship would be a WrestleMania main event waiting to happen. 30 minutes match, all the spots would be crazy. Oh my god. You dirty pig, you dirty pig. AEW owe their success to NXT Black and Gold days and WWE more than they like to admit. I can see that vision, I see what you mean. A match that feels like a dream match to me because I want to see it happen so much has to be Fraxiom versus Motor City Machine Guns. You are cooking, brother. And adding on to that, I'd love to see Fraxiom against the Lucha Bros, and I think we will, and it's gonna be insane. Grayson Waller should turn on Austin Theory and join Seth's new group. We will get the Austin Theory babyface, plus could you imagine Waller's rolling Thunder Stunner into Bronze Spear and ending with Seth's stomp on someone? Oh my